Hey you, these things! I didn't review these things, and that's why we're here. You know, it's the end of my 4th year doing YouTube, and I was kind of tossing up what I wanted to do. I had multiple scripts in the works, but nothing was finished, wasn't sure if I wanted to do another review, or an essay, or something topical, or something I'm passionate about, and then I had the thought, why not just do everything? See, I play a lot of games every year with the explicit intent of making it is it actually good for them, but a lot of things get left on the cutting room floor. Sometimes I don't have time, sometimes life gets in the way, sometimes topics are time sensitive, and by the time that one is done, another's already past its expiration date, stuff happens. But no matter what happens, I still have terabytes of footage, so without further ado, it's time to press start. In this video, we're going to go on a much more rapid-fire pace with a much less serious tone than my proper reviews. Each game is only going to get a couple of minutes max, and the score is going to be more based on my gut instinct rather than an actual long list of criteria. It's gonna be faster, more personal, probably funnier, and in the end-of-year roundup that I do annually, every single one of these honorable mention games is going to be placed on their own tier list rather than the usual two. Now then, let's kick things off with 2024's Game of the Year winner, Astro Bot. Astro Bot is a mascot platformer collectathon made by Team Asobi, and it really is a delightful little game. I'd be lying if I said that on my first playthrough I wasn't going, huh, this really makes me feel like I'm playing Banjo-Kazooie as a kid again. Before immediately being followed by, huh, so this is how the internet has ruined me. Oh no. The game serves as a love letter to both the legacy of PlayStation as a whole, as well as to the Mario titles that heavily inspired it, despite the fact they didn't want to mention it by name for probably legal reasons at the Game Awards. While the collectathon elements with the bots and puzzle pieces certainly harken back to Banjo-Kazooie's Jinjos and Jiggies respectively, the majority of the actual gameplay is very Mario Galaxy and Mario Sunshine. The game has also only gotten better post-release with the addition of 5 free levels and even more bots to collect from different games. The mechanics are fun, the soundtrack is memorable, the references are nostalgic, and the mascot is adorable. 10 out of 10. Good start. Now on to a game from the biggest inspiration for Astro Bot. Super Mario RPG Remake is the remake of the 1996 turn-based RPG that served as the Super Nintendo progenitor of both the Paper Mario series and the Mario and Luigi games, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. And look guys, we may have never gotten Geno in Smash, and we may never will, but at least they remade his game. The game follows Mario and party as the Smithy Gang, who just kicked Bowser out of his own castle, plot to take over the world by ridding its people of wishes. With the help of Geno, a warrior from the Star Road above sent by a higher power okay guys, let's not beat around the subtext here. Geno's an angel from heaven sent by God to shoot lasers through the face of corporate industrialization, which, you know, kinda based. The game operates like your typical party-oriented JRPG, having a set number of characters to choose from that all have different strategic benefits based on team composition. The world exploration is pseudo-open world, while the combat is turn-based. Again, if you've played any of the Paper Mario or Mario & Luigi games, you're going to feel right at home discovering the game that started it all. Charming, comedic, reasonably deep, Geno for Smash. 8 out of 10. Now for a game that is the exact polar opposite of all of the things I just said. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is an action-adventure game made by Ninja Theory, a studio best known for making a few Disney games, a couple of other ones that you've never heard of, and that one Devil May Cry reboot that a whole one person liked. With such an illustrious track record, you may be wondering why I even bothered with Hellblade at all, and the answer is that the sequel came out this year and I was really intent on capitalizing on the release. However, the marketing was so bad to non-existent for Hellblade 2 that the trending topic on Twitter at the time was that the marketing for Hellblade 2 was just all of us talking about how there's no marketing for Hellblade 2. Even more baffling is that they screwed up their own naming scheme? Like, okay, I'm only half joking when I ask this next question, seriously. Is the franchise called Hellblade, or is it called Senua's Saga? Why did you flip the subtitle with the second game? What was the point? All dunking aside though, the game is alright. It kinda does the two-step in terms of quality. Every step forward has a respective step back. The combat is well done, if repetitive. The story is interesting, though the ending and the twists undermine most of it. The stakes are stressful and compelling until you realize there's just a straight-up stinking lie. But hey, at least the game is pretty. The main things that Hellblade has going for it are the painfully emotional character acting by Melina Jurgens, and most importantly, the spectacular sound design, where they got real inventive with their recording methods in order to best simulate what it's actually really like to have hallucinatory psychosis.
No one will ever know. Oh, she heard us.
This is one of the very few games that I exclusively played with headphones, which the devs recommended you do, and I highly recommend doing the same if you choose to give this game a shot. 6 out of 10. And on the topic of a game that you should give a shot, Balatro is a deck-building strategy roguelike made by Local Thunk, and it is a game that I have consciously needed to put down. It is an extremely addictive game that is very good at making you feel very clever or very stupid with a Y. And honestly, it's a little hard to talk about this game without retreading what everyone else has already said. Although, just to clarify real quick, when I say that I have beaten every single game on this list, what I mean by beat for Balatro is I've beaten Ante-8 on all the base color decks, and I've beaten up to black difficulty and below. Also, in response to the pronunciation comments in my last video, I do have an answer. 1, Local Thunk has publicly said that he doesn't care about how you pronounce it, so who cares? And 2, the answer is I care, for the word is Latin for jester, and the emphasis it's on the first syllable, a la Balatro. I know everyone in the gaming community colloquially calls it Balatro, and to that I say,
well, good for you, you're wrong. As I was saying, our father created me with the sole purpose of becoming perfect.
The general gist of Balatro is that you start every fresh run with a basic 52-card deck, except for when you don't, and then you will add, destroy, duplicate, and manipulate cards into your favor while you slowly make a build that will do one of 3 things. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Builds function almost entirely off of the jokers, which are essentially your modifiers that determine how your numbers work. Sure, you could take the one that gives you another 4x multiplier, or you could take the one that makes it so that every single spade is worth the equivalent of 5 face cards on top of whatever the card was worth before. And I mean, sure, you could be rich and farm for money, but hear me out, stay broke, stay winning. After you ante up all the way to level 8 and beat that, you'll unlock new decks, new cards for your collection, and be allowed to continue in endless mode, which means you now have a choice. Do you drop your current run, call it good enough, and then go on to play a new rule set with your new deck? Or do you have any pride? How good is your build, really? How invincible do you think you are? Come on, 7 out of 10 gamblers cash out right before they hit the big time, so...
Hit me! Fight me! Give me a hug. Really? Oh God, no!
Play this game, it's crack. 8 out of 10. And now to go from playing crack to cracking heads... Robocop Rogue City is a first-person shooter made by Teon based on the movie franchise of the same name. The game takes place between Robocop 2 and 3 and really reminded me that no matter how many M-rated games I've played, 80s violence was just different, man. I've reviewed Dead Space Remake and 2 different Resident Evil games on this channel so far, and you know what none of those games have had? Viscerally realistic jib and fluid simulations with appropriate viscosity whenever you paint the walls with the blood of criminal scum. The game is notable not only for how faithful it stays to the setting of the movies, and for how unga bunga head jibs go split the gameplay is. as it is for how boring it is to just be a regular old cop handing out parking tickets, and how absolutely head-explodingly dumb the ending is, because without actual point-for-point spoilers, the game essentially wraps with the villain revealing his secret evidence that gave him power over Robocop, and then in the most literal way possible, handing Robocop, literally by hand, a copy of said evidence, which is obviously then used against the villain, who could have never seen this coming. Wow, this game ends dumb. That and the final boss is just a knockoff of Kane from the ending of Robocop 2, so there's that. 7 out of 10. Fun, dumb, lots of explosions and gore. If the 80s were a game, you know what? They did a great job. For a game that's fun and smart, however, Animal Well is a retro-styled Metroidvania game made by Billy Basso, and it is the first game ever to be published by Donkey's company Big Mode. It is a lovingly crafted little game about a ball of moss? The blob? Boy and his blob. Exploring a deep underground well full of all manner of different creatures that control various territories of the map. By overcoming, defeating, or reconciling with each of them, you will finally be able to uncover the secrets of what lies in the dark. If you survive. And to help you survive, you have the power of childhood nostalgia. Behold, the yo-yo, the slinky, the frisbee, those little bubble wand things that come with the little bottle of soap that will inevitably stop working as well as it used to, and it's just gonna sit under the sink for like the next 10 years until you find it behind the Windex and remember how long ago those times were, and it's actually— Don't worry about him, he'll be fine. It is a 2D Metroidvania in the purest sense of the term, and it's been done with a very strong aesthetic, with unexpected approaches to game mechanics that keep things fresh. 9 out of 10. And speaking of something that I'm sure will be a 9 out of 10, you know what game is coming up next, right? Are you okay? Huh? Oh, yeah, no, it'll be great, yeah. What are we talking about? Oh my god. Oh, Shadow the Hedgehog is the GameCube sequel to Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes. And my mom would not let me play it as a kid. Also, as a kid, I was so innocent that I genuinely didn't register that Shadow swears when he dies. I always thought the line was,
Damn, not here.
And now as an adult, I realized that my mom wasn't actually protecting my innocence from vulgarity, she was protecting my love of Shadow from this game. What even happened here? Shadow gets woken up in Sonic Adventure 2? Selective amnesia. Shadow dies in Sonic Adventure 2. Gets brought back by popular demand with amnesia. Did you play Sonic Heroes? Just kidding, no you didn't. How about more amnesia? Shadow's entire in-game life has just been the tragedy of us watching an amnesiac friend relapse and forget who you are 3 times. Then in terms of this game, the whole narrative is about Shadow discovering himself and understanding his past, both literally in terms of the endings and meta-narratively by having every single level be determined by butterfly effect. I'm sorry, what was that? Until Dawn? Nah, couldn't be. Nah, rip off. Until Dark over here did it a full decade earlier. Okay, real talk, I have rewritten the ending of this segment a handful of times, and I think the rants that I have deleted have shown me that I do actually have enough passion in the tank about this topic to make a full video on Shadow later. But to wrap it up without getting too far off track, here we go. The levels are far worse than what came before. The companion system was basically like having a Sonic character-flavored Omochao for every single level. The narrative system was innovative and interesting, apart from the fact that depending on your decisions, the level paths make less than no sense, and forcing the player to finish 10 endings of fan fiction before being allowed to get the true ending, in which Shadow basically just determines that he really doesn't care about his past anymore, when the entire impetus for the story was him caring about his past anymore, is just insulting to anyone who is invested in that story. 4 out of 10. And from one terrible sequel to another, Super Meat Boy Forever sucks, and I hate it. Moving on. But no. You get back here. Why? Your second most successful video of year 4 was about Forever, and you have nothing to say about it? I mean, yeah, but I don't see what... I mean, okay, but... Oh no. 30 8% of your audience. It wasn't supposed to be like this. It was just supposed to bring in a couple more views. I didn't ask for this. And neither did Adam Jensen, but here you are anyway. Maybe you stop complaining and start giving the people what they want. The woodshed's looking real good right now, narrator. And taking me behind it won't change the fact that I'm right.
It won't change the fact that you're fine.
That's better. Super Meat Boy Forever is an auto runner made by Team Meat, but without the benefit of the series co-creator Ed McMillan. It was originally intended as a mobile game spin-off of Super Meat Boy before it was more fleshed out and retconned into being a fully fledged sequel, which I hate. It flanderized its villain Dr. Fetus, lost most of what made Super Meat Boy work, changed the genre entirely, and had the audacity to act as the long-awaited sequel to one of the most beloved indie games of all time. My endlessly dripping venom aside, the game's fine, all right? Is that what you want? It's fine. It looks good. The different power-ups and interactable elements set it apart from more basic honor runners with having more depth. The random assembling of levels based on pre-made segments is surprisingly seamless and adds a lot of replayability, potentially. And the cutscenes were really wonderfully animated. The game is fine, okay? It's not a Super Meat Boy game. I'll die on that hill, but it's fine. It's a good auto runner. 7 out of 10. Next up is what I wish upon this game.
Domain expansion. It's ultra killing time.
ULTRAKILL and SCP-5K are games that I lump together for no other reason other than the fact that they are the only two games that I quote-unquote beat this year that just literally are not finished. I'm not going to dwell on ULTRAKILL here, being that one of my best videos goes fairly in-depth on it, so I'm just going to drop a shameless little plug right here and in the description and say solid 9 out of 10 for ULTRAKILL. Probably 10 out of 10 when it's done, we'll see. Now, from one niche FPS apocalypse indie game with a cult following to an even more niche indie game apocalypse FPS game with a cult following, SCP-5K is a tactical first-person shooter in the same vein of Tarkov or Sandstorm, made by both Affray Interactive and one of the biggest community projects on the internet. The reason that I say it like that is because of what the nature of SCP is as a quote-unquote franchise. SCP, short for Secure, Contain, Protect, is in truth a community-led wiki, where members of said community write short-form fiction, usually horror, about anomalous objects and creatures called SCPs from the perspective of the SCP Foundation, the in-universe organization responsible for quietly and covertly securing, containing, and protecting said anomalies. What started as a very small little community project has expanded to include thousands upon thousands of different entries now, and 5K specifically takes place in an alternate version of that universe where the SCP Foundation has now gone rogue and is using all of the anomalies in their possession to bring about the extinction of mankind. Which brings us back to ULTRAKILL. The game is extremely not finished, often buggy, and also really difficult. No hit scan weapons, the enemy pathfinding is jank, grenade splash damage is absolutely rated E for everyone, and one tap to the head from a D class with a pipe gun will drop you just as fast as a hug from SCP-173. But there are the makings of a great game in here. The gunplay is very consistently solid, the weapon variety is massive, the potential story and universe that they have to work with is super huge and interesting, and the roadmap on their website looks incredibly promising, with 2 different campaigns, alternate mission maps, a zombies mode, and a heavy emphasis on community features and multiplayer means that potential really is the name of the game here. Also, they're probably going to end up having the Steam Workshop feed into this, so whatever SCPs are the fan favorites are gonna probably get modded in later. 4 out of 10 right now, but I'm excited to see that go up to an easy 8 or 9 when the game is finished. And from 2 of my personal favorites to my actual favorite of this year, Black Myth Wukong is a Souls-like adaptation of Journey to the West, and arguably my favorite game of 2024. Ironically, my most anticipated game for 2023 was Lies of P, which essentially was a Bloodborne-like, and Wukong was my most anticipated game of 2024, being a Sekiro-like. Listen, what can I say? I have a type, okay? From just the tutorial, I knew this game was going to be an absolute banger. Epic, cinematic. Heck, my mom knows what this game looks like, and she doesn't play video games. I've literally had multiple debates with her when we were talking about the Game of the Year nominees when I was making that previous video, which pretty much all went, oh, but when you look at a game like Black Myth Wukong, something that's just that impressive, how can you even compare it to something like Balatro in that? You heard me right. Black Myth Wukong caused conflict in my house between myself and my parents because it was too cool looking. I've already made a video breaking down some of my favorite aspects of the game. Shameless plug. But now I'm going to clarify something. While I recognize that this statement is apparently a mixed bag for some, I know for a fact that there is a large group that agrees with me when I say Wukong wasn't finished at release. It needed another month to cook. For me, the issues specifically started in Chapter 4, and by the end of Chapter 5, the game was just unplayable. Potato mode graphics, AI-based efficiency options that crashed the game when used, inactive models appearing where they're not supposed to be, and a frame rate that makes Flipnote look fast. It was bad. So bad, with so little support from game science, in fact, that people on the PC version took it upon themselves to make mods and patches that attempted to fix the game's performance problems by changing the game's CPU priority and usage. Wukong is a fantastic game, marred by a bad release, and while I do forgive it for that, the score doesn't. 8 out of 10. Bear in mind, the game is also fixed now, or at least it should be. So, provided that it's fixed now, go play it, please. If you like Souls anything, go buy Black Myth Wukong. If I do a proper is it actually good for anything on this list, it's probably going to be Black Myth Wukong. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, a shout out to every single one of you that is new to this channel at the end of this year. I cannot have done this without you. And speaking of, a huge thank you to Daniel Russell for his support over on Patreon. Out of all the games here, which are the ones that you want to see me do a formal review on? I'll be looking forward to your thoughts in the comments. And until then, I've been Lone Wolfie X, and I will see you, yes you, next time.